Okay, so welcome back. Today we're gonna have a look at details.component.html and details.component.ts. We're gonna deal with the TS first. So let me just go ahead and find it. I'm looking for the account. Oh, it's supposed to be, yep, there we go. So we have modified this line here. You will notice that you now have a promise. Anyway, here we will basically change this to promise as opposed to just being account so that we can apply a pipe to this promise, and the pipe will basically just conduct the fetching of all the data that is needed. Now, if we go down further, you have this account equals this account service dot get by ID. Now, this particular line here will basically return a promise, which in turn contains an account with that particular ID. And we are storing that into the account variable mentioned previously, which is like right here. So there you go. This is the account this is the account variable right here. Anyway, the line below, well, basically this we will leave as was, and it is only used for basically fetching the error. Anyway, if we go down further, we have a method here is object. Check if it's an object. This is a helper method that checks if something is an object. Basically, it can be recycled. It receives a parameter, so basically a parameter of any type, and then down below, type of object. If this is equal to object, it will state that this is an object. If it is not, then it is not an object. So let me just go ahead and explain how this works. If you go ahead and check if something is an object, you basically get a return, and the return is a string. So if the return string is object, then that something is an object. If the return string is something different, then that something is not an object. So just type in type of, this is a method, in a bit of a strange format without the parentheses, and then the type of obj, which is the passed parameter to this function. And the type of will basically return a string, and if that string is equal to object, then obj is in fact an object. Okay, so let's go to the HTML file. Now here we haven't done much, but there is a good amount to explain. So this line here in particular is interesting, and moreover, this part here is the primary change that has taken place. So I will begin the explanation here a little bit counterintuitively from right to left. So this part here, within the parentheses, basically here we are applying the async pipe right here, and the underscore account is a promise. And we are basically this promise is being used. The async is being used in conjunction with the async pipe with the pipe symbol here. Anyway, to use the async pipe, we needed to utilize this syntax. Anyway, while the pipe is not resolved or not rejected, so while this promise is basically not resolved or not rejected, the pipe will keep on returning null. When it is resolved or when it is rejected, it will return the result obtained by resolving or rejecting. In our case, this is the underscore account object. If it is resolved, and a string which represents the basically, if it is resolved, if a resolution occurs, account will be of type object. That's why we are using the function, or the method is object. So whatever happens here, if the final result of this is an object, then okay, it has been resolved. If the final result of this pipe is not an object, then it has not been resolved and we have not gotten what we wanted to get. The hidden part here is basically a substitution for ngIf. We had ngIf before, and now we are using hidden. Why? Well, because hidden will only visually hide this particular element, and this element stretches far down below to the closing. Oops, apologies. To the closing div, to the div that closes the opening div here. Anyway, why are we doing this? Well, because hidden, as I said, will only visually hide the whole element if the initial pipe is not an object. While on the other hand, ngIf would eliminate the entirety of this element and all the code down below, and that is not something that we want happening. And it would put it back if the initial condition was met. So if we were to use the ngIf for the account to be successfully resolved, only then would it be, only then it would only, well, let's go ahead and try this one more time. Hidden basically hides this visually if this is not an object. ngIf completely eliminates the div and everything disappears. So we cannot use it because nothing down below, because as you can see, we have an async pipe here, we have an async pipe here, and so on and so forth. None of these pipes would take an effect if the initial condition was not met. And if the initial condition was not met, none of these pipes would take effect, and that would be a problem because an entire section of the HTML code would not be executed and our site would not function properly. I hope that was a good enough of an explanation. If something is unclear, feel free to post in the discussion section. We'll be happy to offer additional explanation. Now, if we go down below to this one here, now you again have an async pipe here, but it does something a little bit differently with the question mark and dot title. Here we will apply the async pipe again, and when it is resolved basically, but it will check if the value of the title is null. So this is the it will check if the value of this entire expression is null. My apologies. And then it will call the title to be printed there. But if the expression is null, there is obviously nothing to print, therefore there is no point for any of this to actually occur. And that is what the question mark does. Is it null or is it not null? If it is not null and the title does indeed exist, then it will be shown, otherwise it will not be shown. Down below you have pretty much the same thing, except we are indeed using the ngIf here, and this section will be removed if the condition is not met. It will not only be visually hidden. As you can see, this line is pretty much the same as this line here, except we're pulling a description here instead of a title. Again, you have basically, again, you have the same syntax being applied over and over and over again. And I've just put in small reminders for myself to actually see when something happens and when something does not happen, to actually see where the changes have taken place. Anyway, same thing. Again, same thing happens here. Nothing new. A little bit of an addition has been made with Bootstrap, but that's about it. You can literally see the same syntax repeat itself over and over again. And if we scroll down to the bottom, here we have implemented a small JSON pipe. Now, this is a demo of a JSON pipe. And this is the sort of pipe that can receive pretty much anything that can be in a JSON format. I don't think it cannot receive functions, though. And basically, it can receive a lot of stuff. This is purely to show how to use a JSON pipe, and the JSON pipe is mostly used for debugging purposes. It is not used very often to actually display something on the site. Now, with these changes taking place, if we open up the site, you can see that this here is the JSON format. So this is the demo of the JSON pipe. This is why it's often not used to actually display things in this format to the user, but it is used for debugging so that you can see what on earth is going on. As far as the site is concerned, the rest of the things don't really have that many changes. Most of the changes are under the hood, so to say. Anyway, bid you farewell, and we shall see each other in the follow-up tutorial.